So it occurs to me that I probably should have elaborated a little bit more when I compared M. Night Shyamalan's The Last Airbender to Zelatsky's On the Silver Globe. And really, like, the only serious things that the two films have in common is that they both are basically about quote-unquote chosen people going to an isolated world of some sort, or in the case of On the Silver Globe, a planet. It's, an isolated location that's either, very much on its own or is following sort of a strict code. Usually these codes or these sort of backgrounds to these worlds and rules are based on scripture or mythology. And the chosen characters in these films, On the Silver Globe, the Merrick character, and in Last Airbender, the Ong or Aang, depending on whether you're talking about the show or the movie, the chosen one character ends up being the one who, he does end up being a great influence, but he actually ends up being the one at the end who changes in both films, I would say. Although the way those changes happen On the Silver Globe is those changes happen a lot more in a much more complicated way, because the way time works on that planet On the Silver Globe, they don't function. The rules of time don't function the same way there as they do here. Over there on that planet, the main character, the chosen one, quote unquote, his influence ends up being really fast, and it ends up evolving very quickly. And people on that planet end up aging really quickly. So it doesn't take him all that long to develop this or to build this following, so to speak. And of course, in both films, there are tragic consequences that happen, but the way things happen in The Last Airbender is a little bit different, because a lot of the events of the story end up occurring pretty much in a bit of a crunch, and so I guess that's kind of like, to me, a lot of these sort of things, these sort of elements, kind of remind me of each other. And I think that both Zelatsky and M. Night Shyamalan, I think both Andrei Zelatsky and M. Night Shyamalan have a renegade backbone to their filmmaking styles, but both of those, both On the Silver Globe and The Last Airbender, are sci-fi fantasies that were compromised by the people that were funding them. In the case of On the Silver Globe, it was the Polish government, or the Polish Ministry of Art, I think it was. I can't remember exactly. And in the case of The Last Airbender, I think that vision, the way that vision was compromised, I think it was partially compromised by M. Night Shyamalan, but then also the 3D conversion elements. I feel like the 3D visuals in that movie actually hurt the narrative. So yeah, I feel like both ways that both films were compromised actually take away quite a bit from their individual narratives. And then I guess the last thing, just off the top of my head, that I can think of that both films have in common is just the amount of storytelling that happens through the movement and the makeup. Like, I can't help but sort of find those, and also through the costuming too. In On the Silver Globe, a lot of different backgrounds are basically the way the way it's indicated which character is following who, or how each character has evolved, you can tell by either their costume or their makeup. And the same can be said for The Last Airbender. Although The Last Airbender, there's obviously there's kind of a bit more of like they're based more on the backgrounds of these groups of people rather than on just the people, like the populace. So yeah, I guess in on the Silver Globe, there's a more tribal element in that sense. Anyway, so yeah, these are just kind of some thoughts off the top of my head. I know I'm not making a whole lot of sense right now, but I was just kind of thinking about that. It's like, oh, maybe I should elaborate on that further. Basically those are kind of the same. Like all of those are aspects that I just listed are just things that I find both movies happen to have in common, and I kind of just appreciate both of those films for those specific qualities too. Just yeah, I don't know. I'm into those kinds of stories for whatever reason. So, and then yeah, I mean, I'd say, even though, and I guess if you want me to kind of throw, like, really sort of reach, both films are adaptations of a different thing. One is an adaptation of a television series, an animated cartoon, an animated television series, and the other is based on a book, and a science fiction book, which, from what I gather, kind of has a little bit of a hard to be a god type of similarity to the narrative. So, I mean, I could sort of see that based on what the film itself on the Silver Globe presented. Because it kind of reminded me of some aspects of that book, Hard to be a God. So, and then I'm trying to think. Yeah, I mean, I guess in the grand scheme of things, they're not super comparable beyond those elements. On the Silver Globe is more of a petri dish, like a societal petri dish type of situation, whereas The Last Airbender actually has kind of its own land and its own historical background to it. So anyway, that's about it. See ya. Bye.